Hey, this is Troels from Adagietto, and in this video I'll be demonstrating our Adagietto short notes. One of the beautiful things about Adagietto is that Colin and I had the ability to sort of pick and choose exactly what short notes we wanted. So, for example, with the Spiccato here, we had a wealth of things to select from, all the Adagio volumes, and essentially this is just what we feel is sort of the best representation of the ultimate Spiccato. Most of the short notes have about 8 to 10 round robin. Obviously there's multiple velocity layers and all that stuff. And as I'll try to demonstrate in this video, there's a lot of flexibility because we have so many round robins and because we went so deep into the sampling of, for example, short notes. It's sort of the perfect world in terms of compiling it all in Adagietto. But let's kick it off here with some ensemble Spiccato. Let me just first here play a little bit of the velocity so you can hear how much expression is. Obviously there's tons of velocities and you can really play from the very soft to the very sort of harsh, gritty kind of note. And I think is that there's a wonderful expression in the patch. So as you can hear, there's a lot of velocity layers in it, and you can really go from the very soft strokes to the sort of more hard gritty stuff, and just a wonderful variation between them. And because we have all those layers and all the round robin, it's easier to create more phrase type of rhythms. So if you want to go like da 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 or da 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 da, whatever complicated sort of motion you want rhythmically and dynamically, you can do that because there's such a variation. It's not just a short note. We sort of handpicked the more gritty stuff and the more sort of mid-level normal stuff and to the very feathery strokes. Let me try to emphasize that point a little bit. I'll try to play here with the same patch and just try to create a rhythm so you can hear the sort of more accentuated notes. So you can really do those very sort of rhythmic expressions like da 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 da. The patch is phenomenal because you've got the basses, the cellos, the violas, the violins all laid out in that way and programmed with that sort of delicate velocity layering. It's beautiful. Let me try to play something else here with a few more notes with the same patch, and then I'll try to isolate a patch after that. So obviously one of the challenges with Adagietto ensemble patches is that you have all these bleeding layers. So the basses sort of bleed with the cellos, and the cellos certainly bleed with both the basses and the violas and the violins. So you get all these sort of bleeding intervals. But one of the beautiful things about Adagietto is that we also have all the sections split out. So if you only want your bass, if you only want your cello, whatever it is you want, you can do that as well. I'll try to play a similar thing like I just did, but this time around I'm going to isolate the basses so you can just hear the basses alone. And the way you do that is that you got the directories here, and you can see there's an ensemble directory and there's individual sections. So in the next one here, I'm just going to go into the basses and I'm going to load the basses Spiccato patch. So essentially just isolating the bass section so you can hear what it sound like only with the basses. And one of the gorgeous things about Adagietto, and again, this is sort of hand selection process of the samples, we got some really specific techniques for getting our bass spiccatos. And I think it's kind of wonderful that you can play so fast that it's just like, just normally you sort of get into staccato land with bass samples. They're not that playable and expressive, but this is just one example of it. Let me try to play another section here. Let's try some violins as well, so you can hear what this sound like just with isolated violins. Such a nice and rich sound to them. And as you can probably see, we got a speed knob here. The speed knob essentially allows you to control how far you go into the sample. One of the things that Colin and I were very delicate about with Adagio is that we wanted that initial stroke of the bow. Typically in libraries it's cut out and it gives sort of a more pointy sound, which can be great for epic scoring when you really need things to be tight. We just happen to love that kind of feathery sound as well. But if you sort of want to get rid of it and you just want to get into the more sort of pointy, like straight, ultra tight spiccato, then you can essentially turn it up here. So let me try to just play something here, and then I'll turn the speed knob up as I play so you can see and hear what it would sound like when you sort of go a little into the sample. It's called sample offset. So it was sort of a matter of how you want to dial in the sound. Perhaps it was a little too pointy here, but you can sort of find a medium level depending on your composition. I personally prefer to keep it down here and not use quantize. I think I used to quantize in the earlier days on my Spiccatos, but they sound better when you play them in hand. There's a little more life in it when you do that way. Let me try to play you the staccatos here, and obviously they're slower. And it's kind of funny when you think about the early days of orchestral sampling. There was no spiccatos, it was all staccato. And it's actually interesting when you work with real string sections, they have very different interpretations of what staccato and spiccato is. Sometimes they actually interpret it the opposite way, since it's a different motion with the bow. But it's not necessarily that staccato are longer, it's just something we've sort of been raised to believe in traditional sampling. So I hereby bid you the traditional sampling staccato, which is a little longer note. And even those are sort of slowish staccato notes, we actually have 6 round robin on each of them. And we also have that for Marcato. Let me just try to play here. One thing with Marcato in the past was like there was never round robin on them. It gave a very stiff thing, but when you do things like the da-da, which is sort of natural Marcato stuff, you need that natural variation to get the sound going. Let me just try it here. And of course, with any string library with some self-respect, you gotta have your pizzicato. It was actually funny, I remember in the sessions, I'm sure Colin can remember this as well, but we were actually thinking about doing like pizzicato legato. That was one of like, just imagine how crazy far and insane we've gotten into the concept. And they can kind of do it. We tried, but it didn't work out so pretty, but you can kind of do the but we realized nobody's gonna use that. But hopefully you're gonna use these beautiful pizzicatos. Also, I don't know why, every time I think about Pizzicato, I always think of Sting. Like he made, what's it called? An Englishman in New York. And I think it has like a similar chord progression to Set Them Free, which was from an earlier album. Something like this, I think. Maybe I got it totally wrong. Let me gently and fast skip on here to our viola pizzicato again. I'm just gonna isolate it again here. Obviously I just played the pizzicato for the entire ensemble, but again, if you want to isolate the notes, I think for me the perfect pizzicato sound is actually the violas, because they have a little more body than the violins, but they still have that sort of high note. And obviously we have, again here, plenty of round robins, multiple velocity layers. I think we have 3 velocities on the pizzicatos here and like 8 round robin or something like that. But there's a nice pointiness to it. And we also have the beautiful and expressive Bartok's, sort of great form, more percussive, epic stuff. Let me also show this last thing here. This is our Spiccato patch again. But in this one, I've loaded both the far and the close microphone position. And what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to be playing something, and then I'll slowly dial in the close microphone so you can really get a feeling for the difference between the far and the close. Alright, also remember to check out our other Adagietto videos. We have a video for our dynamic bowings, we have a video for our long notes and sustains, and we have a video for our beautiful legato sections in Adagietto as well. Thank you so much for watching.